Good evening, guys. I don't I don't know what just happened. I was talking for like 20 minutes before I realized that the whole thing had disconnected. So I thought, you know what, screw it. I'm cold, I'm hungry. I went to get some food and I decided to cheat and have I might have some ice cream. Don't judge me. Well, guys, I could not go live. Are you kidding me? I want us to live stream the utter humiliation of the British monarchy because, ladies and gentlemen, it's a doozy. It's a doozy. It's a doozy. Like I said, very sorry for how late this is. I got home from my outing much later than expected, and by the time I got back, I know that we usually have this at 6 o'clock. I was cold. I was tired. It was a lot. And when I went live, like I said, I didn't realize I had disconnected. I was kind of shocked actually. Sorry about that. But guys, don't worry. I got you. I was going to postpone this till tomorrow, but guys, the tea is too hot. It is too hot. We cannot have this tomorrow. We need to have it tonight because the British monarchy have, in my opinion, so humiliated themselves on an international level. And this is the thing, yeah. Do you know how bad it is for the British monarchy when they can't even bring out Harry and Meghan? There's nothing. This is beyond Harry and Meghan now. I feel like this is the punishment of our ancestors. People say this is the Meghan karma. Nah, 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 nah. The British monarchy have been a mess for centuries. The incremental downward destruction of the British monarchy has been building up to this moment. Now, do I honestly to God think that this could bring down the royal family? Listen for yourself.
Next week.
Mr. Cameron, a British question, if I may. What do you say to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew and to Peter Mandelson with regard to giving evidence to your committee?
Mandelson may bring down the whole government, from what I hear. He just engaged in terrible behavior. I mean, the allegations are very serious that he was working for Gordon Brown and then feeding information about UK possibly buying euros and having Epstein trade on that. I mean, it is a deeply troubling. And Epstein's, I saw this interview with Epstein's former girlfriend talking about how someone is a loser if they weren't mentioned in the Epstein files. It's a window into the elite impunity, this club. And by the way, I think this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. I mean, I heard they were asking the Queen questions about the Epstein class. They ought to ask the King and Queen questions, and maybe this will be the end of the monarchy.
What do you think it could be the end of the monarchy?
Well, if they don't have answers, or if they're implicated with an Epstein class, not a good look for the British monarchy.
What questions does the King have to answer?
Well, the King has to answer what he knew about Andrew. And just stripping Andrew of a title is not enough. I mean,
Thank
Andrew needs
you.
to come before our committee and start answering questions. I mean, look, if you have allegations of raping a young girl, I don't think the appropriate punishment is you no longer get to be a prince. There's got to be more than that.
Do you think the royal family must have known something they're not telling us?
They need to answer the king and queen, and I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand the British custom, but what's up with this? That you're going and someone's asking the queen a question, the queen is offended that she's being asking a question. I mean, come on. She wears the same clothes. She eats the same food. She's just a human being. She needs to answer the same questions anyone does.
Congressman, what do you think of the Clintons asking for their testimony to be public?
Well. Finally, some common sense has entered the chat. Some common sense has entered the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, this is how hot we're coming in with this one. Normally, I would do my drag leg intro, but nah, guys. I feel like I am sitting front row and I am cheating with ice cream. I'm supposed to be on a diet losing weight, but nah, fuck that. This is a celebratory live. We are celebrating on the live tonight. Screw the calories, man. I love it. I love it. Let me tell you why this is significant. Let me tell you why this is significant. How many times have I told you guys, right? First of all, royal experts, that's not a thing. That is a thing that is fan fiction. That is fan fiction. It is nonsense that it was created by a bunch of thirsty social climbers who want to be brought on British TV. Yeah, earn £20 or less an hour for their contribution, or yeah, or less actually, for their contribution, putting on a jumped up fake accent, bringing all their racism and microaggression to talk at you about this ridiculous family. Mm, 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 mm. Guys, this ice cream I'm eating is a celebration. A celebration. What have I been saying? What have I been saying? Yeah? In the 21st century, if you must inundate us with this nonsense, right? The British royal family is not suitable for 2025. They're not suitable for the 21st century. They haven't been for 30 years. And this is a culmination. Do you guys remember? I know I have so many videos and I've said so many things, but the one thing that has always been consistent from me, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I have always been consistently saying is it feels like the monarchy is standing where we are right now, and everybody else is 1,000 miles ahead. They are living in a world that simply does not exist, and their continued refusal to come back on earth and join the rest of us in reality is it has not gotten to the point where nobody has patience for this anymore. I was saying it. I feel so vindicated. I feel so vindicated, guys. I feel so vindicated. What have we been saying? Now, does it annoy me that of all things to take down this trash ass family, it is severe child abuse, not the racism, not the colonialism, not the sale of human beings as commodity, not the accumulated wealth they have refused to hold themselves accountable for, but the fact that their own bad behavior and their own hubris has brought them here. They've brought this on themselves, right? And I am so glad. I am so glad that everybody has woken up now. I am so glad. Now let's be very clear about something. Yeah, it doesn't. And I'm going to play some videos. The British press, the British press think they are helping the royal family by going with them to all these remote towns in the middle of nowhere where they know that every time the king comes out or the queen comes out, there will be a few royalists who are getting their nipples hard, meeting them in person. They are not doing the British monarchy any favors. They are just not. They are not. Because they aren't telling them the truth. Charles, even in, and let me even add to that, Charles, even in the most remote, because let's keep it 500%, they are going on live visits on these so-called, what I call emotional support visits to places where they know people care about them. And even there, they are still getting heckled. They're still getting heckled, guys. They are still getting heckled. That never happened before. They would take them to the most remote part of the Midlands to get somebody's granny to come and to get all the bored grannies who spend all their time watching Channel 5 and propaganda TV to come outside and wave the British flag and pretend to be excited so that they can broadcast it on BBC and send this message that the monarchy is loved. And even in those remote locations, guys, people are heckling them, asking, what did you know about Andrew? Because a lot of people, and I'm very sorry to say this, they don't care about racism. They don't care about misogynoir. They don't care about misogyny. They don't care about philandering. They don't care about um about all the shenanigans. But you know what is a line too far for most people, ladies and gentlemen? Sexual abuse of children. I said it. I feel so vindicated. I feel so vindicated because, look, the reason why I do not believe the British royal family will go away, and I joined the live a few days ago where a very brilliant woman, I think her name is Erica Kristen. I think she's on YouTube more than she's on TikTok more than she is here. She said something. She said, and I agree, the British monarchy may not vanish because there's too much money. Nah, there's too much money on the line. They are one of the richest royal families in the world, and the British government will not allow them to go quietly. What might end up happening is their role will become so drawn back. They will be incrementally, they'll become like the um Grimaldis, like the royal family of Monaco. Mhm. Or other smaller European countries. But the pageantry of the royal family, I think it's done. It's done. It's done. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And let me tell you how bad this is, guys. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter if they drag Andrew by his edges to American Congress. It's too bad now. They've allowed this to fester too long. And people are not stupid. Ignore the Rangers. Haters on Twitter, haters on TikTok, they're bored, they're broke. Ignore them. We're talking about people right now. And I'll play videos for you, you will see. Even people that will swear by their parents that they are defending the royal family. This is a step too far. Because when it comes to the abuse of children, thankfully, everybody has woken up. Because I won't lie, I was worried. Some of you had me worried. But I'm glad that racism is not so bad for some of you, but hurting kids is a step too far. At least that one we can all agree. So yes, and I'm so glad. That's why I wanted to come in hot with this live, guys. No preamble, no bullshit. Straight to Rokana. Because Rokana is like, what are you talking about? You are human like everybody else. Your son, uncle, brother, whatever. There are guys, the evidence they have against Andrew, if they found that against anybody in this, even I live in the UK, if they found that against a CEO that lives in this UK, not only would that guy have been forced to step down, he would be sitting in a cell right now. Because everybody agrees this is a line too far. And it is the hubris of it all. I'll play video. I, I'm coming in angry because I'm so glad that we have all finally woken up. Yeah, we've all finally woken up that this is unacceptable. I was saying it on my TikTok. If people were on social media screaming, Kiestama, step down because of Peter Mendelssohn. And look, I'm not, God knows, I am no Kiestama fan. But this is the first thing that came to my mind. So you want him to step down over Peter Mendelssohn, even though he admitted to Parliament that, look, yes, we knew, yes, we should have taken care of it. I was wrong. You want Kiestama to stand down, but you don't want the king to abdicate for protecting his brother. Hmm? Have you, those of you that are still supporting the monarchy, have you read some of those emails? They released 3 million and what I love about this guys is 3 million documents. It's all publicly available now. So for those of you that are conspiracy theories and you're saying, it's an agenda, you can literally go on the website yourself and Google and go crazy. Go read it yourself. Go look at those pictures. There's a video going round of a child being tortured. Now, I will be clear. I am not sure. I I will say if I am not sure if that video is real or no. I know that video is real, but I don't know if it is linked to Epstein. Have you ever heard a child be tortured before? Hmm? Those of you that are defending the indefensible, have you ever listened to a child get tortured before? I haven't. I heard it yesterday, and I haven't been able to get that sound out of my head. It wasn't up to a minute. It was enough for me. There's a video of Epstein using a magnifying glass to burn a child. And that is a different video to the one I'm telling you about. There are emails with Peter Nygard. There's a video of Peter Nygard talking to black women, how he wants to take their babies and drain their blood. Hmm? Shout out to Feminegra. I think I spoke about that video on Friday. Because black people were like, thank God. Even me, I was part of that. Thank God they spared us. They didn't spare. You honestly think the people that tortured our ancestors during slavery will spare black women? They may not want to sleep with you, but they don't see you as people. Go and read the files. Go and read the files and read of a victim talking about how she got herpes. That's a child. Go and read the files and go and see that email of a girl who was talking about she was trafficked, she was assaulted in her family. By the time she was 12, 13, she was being trafficked. He was picking up children from Russia, Eastern Europe, because of that language barrier thing. Baby, somebody's child, children, shipping them all over the world to be assaulted. They were writing emails to him complaining about STDs that they've picked up. Prince Andrew, multiple times in the Epstein files, was inviting children to what they call Effingham Palace for sex. Yes. And he was so used to doing it, guys, that he didn't have any hesitation putting his hand on a victim's waist, taking a picture with her. Virginia Giuffre was 16, 17 when that picture was taken. Andrew knew she was young. But he was so, well, this is just a day in the office. And that is what you see in the emails. We can go through all the horrifying things that they did to children. Do you know in the Epstein files, they are discussing about, they put a tape in a child's anus, a boy, to measure how deep it was. That could have been you, your child, your cousin, your brother. You think, but you think it can't happen to you? It can't happen to people you know? You want to understand why I am angry? Go and read Virginia Giuffre's book. Go and read it yourself. If you don't trust my account, if you don't trust the emails, go and listen to a victim of child sexual assault. And then listen to how that terrible trauma evolved into creating the perfect victim for Epstein to brutalize. Go and look at the pictures of Virginia Giuffre in adult parties, looking like a baby. And nobody around her was like, who are you with? I love what she said on her Twitter. You saw me. All of you saw me. You saw me at your parties. Nobody thought, you know what? There's a kid here. And this is not, people say, oh, it's a different time. This is in the 70s. This wasn't the 80s. This was in the 2000s. These were people in their 30s. Parents themselves, by the way, married men and women, saw children being violated. Epstein's Island, he had staff. You see videos of Epstein running around chasing young people. There's a video of Andrew, a photo of Andrew leaning over the frame of a child. And again, don't come and don't spit in my eye and call it rain. That was a child. That is the frame of a very young body. That is not a model. That is the frame of a child. What is the context of leaning over a child? It's not your child. It's not a family member. It's a stranger. Why are you leaning that way over somebody else's child? Andrew. Prince Andrew. And let's be very clear. I love Rokana said it all. You mean to tell me this man has allegations, serious allegations, emails that he sent that confirm that he most likely assaulted children, and the royal family's punish is to remove his title. That is the punishment that Andrew deserves. In what world is that okay? They have known about this since 2000. Let me be very clear. This is a 25-year-old open secret. I remember because when I was, how old was I? 15 or younger. I saw something like that. In Nigeria, I saw that scandal. I didn't know that it was Andrew, but I recall reading about something like that when I was a teenager, a young teenager. This is a 25-year-old secret. Open secret, sorry. 25 years, at least. The Met knew, the police knew, the government knew, the royal family knew. They weren't thinking about the victim 6 years ago, 3 years ago, 10 years ago. Instead, they threw Harry and his poor wife under the bus, used them as, flogged them non-stop for 10 years. And I sit down here looking at all the, because every day, and that's the thing with releasing 3 million files, right? Every day, guys, something new is coming out. Every day we are hit from the left. Do you recall on Friday I said I wasn't speaking about this again? Now I'm like, how could I not? Andrew was sharing information with Epstein. The same thing Peter Mendelsohn has been stepped down for, by the way. The same thing the police have gone to investigate that is treason. That is high treason. You are sharing government secrets. Do we know? Okay, Epstein is a pervert, but do we know who Epstein was giving it to? You might as well go and stand in front of the Kremlin and throw these secrets in the air. And more importantly, knowing this just calls out that hypocrisy, ladies and gentlemen, because Peter Mendelsohn has stepped down. Peter Mendelsohn is being investigated by the police. Where's Andrew? Sorry, Prince Andrew. We call Femi said something. Femi said something. I stand with him. I am going to call Andrew Prince Andrew. That title thing is a joke and a mockery. He is a prince. And I'm going to make it very clear why I'm calling him Prince Andrew as well. Prince Andrew, because they all knew. They all knew. Harry is the only person that had the balls in his book to say that disgraceful affair. And I think, can I say something? Can I say something? I think this is part of the reason they hate him. Yes. Because not only, because guys, ooh, guys, I'm hot. When Harry's book came out, everybody was insulting Harry. He told the family secrets. You're angry at Harry for acknowledging the crimes and the criminality of his family. Don't let them come and be pretending now that, oh my God, what Andrew did was so bad. They were angry with with Harry, I think the main reason they were angry with Harry, amongst all the racism thing, was this thing, calling the evil by its name. He called his uncle out in his book, the disgraceful affair with. Well, I'm paraphrasing. He's the only person that has done that, by the way, and they tore him apart. Refused him security. Why? Because he looked at evil and called it what it was. And I'm sure even Harry didn't even know. Okay, let me say this. Harry would have known as they all knew, but I will say that I think I'm going to give Harry some grace and say maybe he didn't know to what extent. Because again, I'm sorry to say, that's the benefit of being the spare. They will let you in, but they won't let you in. And maybe he even knew. How do we know? But he was probably, again, because ultimately this is still his family. And let me be clear, I'm not trying to harass Harry or drag him into this. But Harry said that he has information that if his father, that if he revealed his, if he revealed that information, his father and his brother would never speak to him again. I'm sure he knew something, but let me let me play devil's advocate, even though I don't want to. I don't think no, that's no, I'm sorry. Charles and William, no. I won't even say knew, they know because of their position in the royal family. Charles would have known, they would have briefed him. William, because of what he's about to become, will know. He would have been briefed. Don't, and this is the part that is so baffling to me. This is how I tell you people that if you are somebody who's a royal watcher or you pay attention to the royal family, I want you to. I know we as human beings nowadays, ADHD is all our rage. I want you to take a step back with me. Take a step back with me and think about the fact that Charles knew, Elizabeth knew, William found out, or probably also knew as much as well. By virtue of them being the heirs, they knew. And they sat on this secret. It wasn't even a secret, it was an open secret. They sat on it, did everything they could to protect it through their own blood children on the bus, under the bus, to protect the secret. Now it's out. And you know what I love about it being out? It was brought out in a way that they couldn't even spin it. Releasing 3 million files to the world is a lot, but was brilliant. Because they're like, nah, we're not playing that game with you. We're not going to give you a chance to give a statement. The world is going to read the monsters that you are. Prince Edward was on Epstein's island. The king gave clearance, and sorry, the queen and Prince Charles gave clearance for Epstein to park his private jet on UK soil. And you're telling me they didn't know? Was Charles not friend with Jimmy Savile? Was Charles' godfather not Mountbatten pedo? It's in their DNA to interact with perverts. That's that arrogance. That's that entitlement. Because it was poor people's children. Because it was poor people's kids. Kids who probably couldn't even speak English. Kids who by the time they were 13 had already been destroyed by this life. They couldn't fight back. There's an email, guys. I read it, of a doctor giving advice on how to get a child to suck harder, a baby, rigorous to suck more rigorous, with more passion. Why is anybody asking that question? Why do you want to know how to get a baby to suck harder? I don't want us to, for a second, downplay the horror of this. Many of us know family members. Some of us ourselves have been sexually assaulted as children, mind you. If you're not angry, I don't know what the hell is going on. They knew. They knew. Every time Meghan was being destroyed in the press, they knew. Every time Harry was being mocked and destroyed in the press, they knew. Every time they were harassing them in Montecito, they knew. While the king was using your tax money to throw a coronation for himself, they knew. While the queen was driving in the car, because there are videos of them driving in the car, they knew. While they were releasing press statements that Kate and William prefer being neighbors with Prince Andrew than Meghan and Harry, they knew. While they were while the queen was perfecting with her son at the back of a limo, they knew. When the queen gave up 12 million pounds allegedly, they knew. They knew. They knew that Andrew was assaulting children. They knew. And that is a system of audacity. They knew because they have created laws that says that a member of the royal family cannot be held liable. What? That's why Andrew was very confident to go in front of Emily Maitlis on the BBC, knowing fully well that interview will be broadcast all over the world to smugly let us know that he does not sweat. We laughed then because it was funny. It was funny in the audacity. But I'll keep it 500% with you. Even I couldn't have predicted it being this bad. I saw it as okay, Andrew's a pervert, and yes, and I'm sorry to say this, with the way he was running through like a sex machine, it is not unlikely that pervert will have had sex with underage girls. But I did not realize, guys. Reading Virginia Giuffre's book made it very clear to me that Andrew had a preference for young girls because he said it to her. You look like one of my daughters. How old do you think I am? 16, 17. Andrew was in his late 30s, 40s. You admit that this girl looks like looks around the same age as your child, and nothing occurred to you that wait a minute. And even if yes, you are a pervert and you are predisposed to being a pervert, he didn't even think about okay, you know what? I am not only an attaché of the British government. I am a member of the royal family. If this comes out, it could ruin people. He didn't care because he knew that it doesn't matter. He is fine. I'm not angry enough. Because if we were angry enough, guys, we will be marching the streets demanding the royal family abolish. Enough. What do you mean that you cannot be persecuted? Are you insane? There were emails about baby sacrifice, children sacrifice, cannibalism. I don't even know if it's satire or if it's true. At this point, I'm not even sure. Because these are private correspondences. So why are they talking about things like that? Why did Epstein need an island all to himself? Let's start there. Because if it was regular, schmegular, whole, whole weekend, it's disgusting. You roll your eyes, but why do you need an island all to yourself? It wasn't just that he was bringing women there, he was bringing trafficked women. These were not your only fan models that have We know that they're in sex work, but they're making bank. They know that this is what they've said they want to do. They're getting paid. These were women they were picking up from the streets. They opened modeling agencies. Beautiful young girls, or maybe not even so much beautiful, just desperately poor young girl from Eastern Europe who thought, okay, you know what? I need to take care of myself, feed my family. I'm skinny, right? America, if I go to America, I can maybe earn dollars. All I have to do is wear makeup and stand. Lie to numerous women all over the world that they were going to be models, only for you to turn them into what? That was not a life they chose, ladies and gentlemen. They weren't given a choice. You bring them into a foreign land, you take their passport, and you tell them they have to spread legs for men they don't know. But Virginia Giuffre was talking about, there was one time that she was trafficked to, I think, the Israeli, I forgot what, was it prime minister, that he beat her so badly. He beat her black and blue that she was scared and she told Epstein. How old was she then? 16? She up to 17? I don't think she was up to 17. And the thing about Virginia is you look at the pictures of her and you don't see the visible scars on her body. But but then you kind of like juxtapose the pictures of her with the stories that you're hearing. And it is, I don't think that book will ever leave my mind. I really don't think I will ever. I don't think there was a time I said I was going to recap it, but I don't think I can. I don't think I have the emotional depth to go through to even. I can't recap that book. I strongly advise you read it though, because I can't imagine going through that trauma since she was a child until she was 19, at least. I don't blame her for leaving the world. Really, I don't. It's too much. But she gave us this thing, this story, this trauma, so that we honor her memory. And it is an insult to women like her, because how many countless women too have had to end their life because of the torment? And it is an insult to their memory to forget. Thank you, Twingy Twango. That was it. These men hurt children. And the funny thing is, Epstein, there are pictures of Epstein, you see him with his herpes scars. So he was already sick, but he was still violating people's children, spreading STDs. Bill Gates caught an STD, had to find a way to secretly get medication to his wife so that she wouldn't know that he's giving her something. Elon Musk, like the loser he is, was begging to go on the island. After all that shakara, was begging to go on the island so many times that even they were like, okay, enough. We don't want him here. Sandra, I think about that. But then if you read the book and you read about the trauma, I don't blame her. Virginia was mentally, that book, because, but how do you go through that trauma and not be mentally, you could, you read about her talking about when she finally left that environment where she was unsafe and she was married and her brain was no longer in fight or flight and everything began to settle in. It was a torment for her. Try to kill herself, she would go into depressions. How would you not? And you go through all that trauma and people tell you that you're a prostitute, that you deserved it, or people don't believe you. As a society, we've allowed social media and the media in general to easily distract us for when we hear nonsense. As soon as this story came out, everybody all over the world should have been pushing for accountability. But we allowed ourselves to be distracted. And look, we're human, right? We're human. You will get distracted. But I think we should start questioning these distractions because they're making us complicit. The fact, like I said, having to hear the video just less than a minute of a child screaming because that child was being tortured really woke me up to the idea of I am too desensitized. I'm too easily distracted. I'm not saying that it is our immediate responsibility to solve these problems, but we need to be shouting more. I tell people that this could happen to any of us. What, you think you're safe? You think your kids are safe? Because if you think so, then you're not paying attention. If they could do something like this when we didn't even have social media, what do you think they are doing now? Now that we're easily distracted. Now that before you finish reacting to a story, 10 more hit your inbox. In America, more than 50%, almost 40% of Black girls have been trafficked. Every day you hear about Native women who go missing and nobody knows where they are. And those are the ones that we know of. These Epstein victims, and I'm sorry for saying this, but these were mainly white women. But because they were poor, nobody gave a damn. Virginia Giuffre was poor. Nobody cared. In fact, do you know how Epstein got into trouble, ladies and gentlemen? Epstein got into trouble because he's a pervert and couldn't help himself, despite the fact that he had an ecosystem to supply him with underage girls from places where, I'm sorry to say, it would be easier to not get detected. He really couldn't help himself. So he started messing around with girls in his Upper East Side commune. Rich men's children, I'm sure. And you think rich men are going to allow you to sexually assault their children? By the time the parents saw the kids spending money, where you get all this money from? And the girls, because they are kids, they were fighting each other. 13, 14-year-olds fighting each other. Their parents got involved and they found out that Epstein was paying these girls to give him massages. And in some cases, assaulting these girls. They rallied and called the FBI was involved. Epstein should have been buried under the jail almost 20 years ago. But because he very cleverly had been satisfying the disgusting urges of people in power, somehow he gets away with it. The prosecutor that was ready for him was shocked. They had testimony, witness statements, everything, ready to take his ass to court. And his powerful friends stepped in. But because the crimes against him were so severe, they couldn't make it go away. So the best they said was, okay, fine, 18 months probation, of which he can leave when he likes, by the way, between certain hours of the day. What is that? And all he was trying to do after the fact was damage control. That's why he was giving money to Prince William. That's why he was all of a sudden very willing to do philanthropic gifts. All of a sudden, you're seeing 500,000 in your charity. Like, oh wow, thank you. Because he was trying to revamp his image. I don't want to be known as a pervert anymore. I want to be known as a philanthropist. That's why he was very hurt when Fergie and Andrew wouldn't want to come near him. It's all there in the emails. And that's why Andrew couldn't let it go. Because Andrew was just as guilty. Developed a taste for young girls. And the thing is, he came in front of the BBC. He came in front of all of us, the British people, and beyond, all over the world, to say that he didn't want to just end the friendship with, he's a friend. He felt bad. He felt it was an honorable thing. I let the side down. You let the side down. Nah, enough. They all need to go. Enough. If this is the thing that destroys the royal family, even though I'll be honest with you, I would never have seen this coming, because I thought, the way I looked at it, I always assumed that the British government and the press will protect the royal family. And I'm sure that they were doing it before. But now that this thing has gone global and 3 million files have been documents have been released, and thank God for social media, even the BBC cannot contain this one. You can't contain this one. Then you see all the emails that Fergie was sending about her children. Let me say something. Fergie knew exactly what she was doing. She knew, they both knew about Epstein's predilection towards young girls. That's why they were always using their children, inviting for children's parties. That's why when Epstein came out of prison, because it was one thing for Fergie to go by herself. Why did she have to take her daughters with her? And they were teens at that point. Why? She went to butter him up because Epstein likes young girls. Those weren't his kids. They weren't his nieces. She knows why she brought them there. Now, am I saying that Fergie intentionally put her kids in harm's way? Yes. Am I saying that he did anything to those kids? Probably not. But when somebody likes something and you're just, oh, I just came to visit and I brought my daughters with me. Something to butter him up. Like a pimp. She knew exactly what she was doing. Fergie is not a fool. Neither is Andrew. Because notice how I don't think, and I'm happy to be corrected here, I don't think they ever invited Epstein for proper visits. It was always one private party or event, you know. And the king was aware. The queen was aware. Because they monitor your emails. You think they didn't know that Andrew was giving away trade secrets? You think they didn't know that Andrew was giving away trade secrets, guys? Do you remember I told you that they're never going to persecute Andrew? And I was saying it, that Andrew knows something. He knows too much. This is part of it. They knew. Because he works for the UK government. You think that they monitor everything. He was using his office phone. He was using government emails. Even his private email is being monitored. You think that they didn't know what he was doing? They knew. They just didn't want the embarrassment. That's why they were protecting him. But now 3 million documents are out in the open. And every day, BBC is finally doing their job. They are publishing fresh tea. And the reason they are doing that is if they don't do it, the Americans will. The Americans don't give a shit. This is the biggest news they've had in a while. Nah, they will publish. And if the Americans don't do it, who do you think will do it? Social media. Because people on social media, they want engagement. You think they give a shit? They all knew. They all knew. They literally caught Fergie on camera trying to take bribes. Was she not still a duchess? Hmm? They caught Fergie on camera taking bribes. No one took her duchess title away. They saw those emails of her begging Epstein for money. Fergie had a house in Chelsea. Do you know where Chelsea is? I didn't say flat. I didn't say rooms. A whole house, freehold, bricks and mortar, air on top, plus the land in Chelsea. Why was Fergie always looking for money? Fergie was the first duchess to really monetize that title properly. She was out here doing weight loss. She was going on Oprah. She was on Friends. She was everywhere. All that money. And she was still broke. What? Again, she owns a house in Chelsea. And God knows where else that we know of. And you were that thirsty that you were flaunting your children in front of a known corgi. Well, she's not a blood heir, so they can't take away her title. So I'll call her Fergie for now. What are we doing here? I'm gonna play. Sorry, guys, I got really into it. Let me play some videos. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pissed. I was gonna for those of you that joined me so late. What time is it? 9 or 10? I'm confused. For those of you that joined me so late, thank you. I started the live before, but internet will internet. I wasn't able to. Something happened. I didn't even know I was offline, so I had to end that live. I'm gonna play some more videos, guys, because as I saw them as I was going through, I kept them down. I'm going to play all the reactions so that you can see. Shout out to Rokana. I said it that there's nothing like a politician who finds a cause that he's not guilty of. He finds a cause that he or she is not guilty of, but is ambitious enough to sit on that cause and use it to push their career because they are relentless. And we should be thanking Rokana. Rokana did not let this go. He didn't allow it. It was like, no, you are not going to redact the files. You are going to release what I've asked you to release. You're going to do it right. And even and because he put that pressure on them, they didn't have an opportunity to redact properly because all the redaction, see, all the things they've redacted, people are just unredacting it themselves, and they are dragging the royal family. Before I come to this part, let me play some of the stuff from today. The heckling. They think this is a joke. Oh, let me start with this one. I was gonna go in order, but you know what, guys? Fuck it. We are having a chat tonight. Let me play this. Oh, sorry. We are having a chat tonight. No more of the bullshit. I'm not playing these games anymore. For those of you that are new to my channel, hi, my name is M for Neka. Sorry, I came in hot because I was hot. I didn't have time for the preamble because this is not a laughing matter. This is not a joking. This is serious. The abuse of children is not a joke. Of trafficked victims is not a joke. And it's about time that we stop bantering and start giving things the gravity that it deserves.
I used to think the monarchy would go on forever somehow or another, and I no longer do. The great Victorian journalist Walter Bagehot said, "Don't let daylight in on the magic," as far as the monarchy was concerned. Well, once Prince Charles's marriage to Lady Di split up, and Princess Anne got divorced, and then Prince Andrew came along with this ridiculous wife, Fergie, it was impossible not to let daylight in on the magic, and the magic vanished, I'm afraid. And although the king has done his best in his old age with the coronation ceremony and all that, to try and make the monarchy seem magic again, it never will be again. And this story, this Epstein story, and the photo of Prince Andrew kneeling over this unfortunate person lying on the floor somewhere, whether it's in Paris or New York, it doesn't really matter where it is. And now the story today about Fergie going to see Epstein with her daughters, only days after he'd been let out of prison for very serious offences. This taints the royal family. To quote the great Lord Mandelson, it's like dogma. It's never going to go away, the stench of this.
Should we assume that there is nothing actually, in a historical context, nothing unusual about Andrew's behaviour, nothing unusual about Sarah Ferguson's behaviour in a historical context? The difference is now this stuff leaks. We know about it. We see it. We see him bent over.
There isn't a great difference in the way people behave. And certainly when you think, as I say, of George IV or William IV or Charles II with his string of mistresses who ended up as duchesses and things, there isn't a great difference in the way the royal family has behaved. There's a huge difference in the way we, the press, the journalists and the public, want the royal family to be. And we want to have this image. We don't worship politicians. We don't think of them as squeaky clean and pure. But we, think of the outpouring of genuine grief for the Queen, because she seemed almost like a saint.
Yeah. So when there have been troublesome royals in the past, what methods have been used to remove them from public life, short of, the obvious chopping block?
Well, the closest we've had to a chopping block in relatively recent history was the abdication, when Edward VIII was sacked. He could easily have stayed on, and, if necessary, married a divorced woman. He could have just said, I'm changing the rules. He's the boss. But
as indeed our current king is.
He changed the rules. Yeah. And I think what happened in the case of Edward VIII, everybody knew he was very dodgy on lots of levels. He was probably being blackmailed by the Nazis. He certainly was pro-Nazi. And later, the stuff that's emerged about the kind of remarks he was making to the Germans when the war broke out, saying that, if only they bombed London, they would crush the spirit of the British and they'd assassinate George VI and put Edward VIII. I mean, once that emerged, we realised they were right to sack him in 1936. But the alleged reason for sacking him was that he wanted to marry an American divorcee.
Look, so on Times Radio yesterday, Chris Philps suggested that Andrew should be removed from the line of succession. Is there any historical or legal precedent for doing that?
I think it would be extremely difficult to do that.
I mean, presumably, I guess, when Edward abdicated, he was kind of removed from the line of succession.
You
can only do that once you get to the top.
He was removed, yes. Yeah. And also, had a miracle occurred and Mrs. Simpson had a baby, that wouldn't have been in the line of succession. But I think it would be very difficult. I mean, assuming that nothing happens to the children of Kate Middleton and Prince William, but it is conceivable a bomb to be thrown or something like that, then Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Mr. Windsor, would be the King of England. And that would be the end of the monarchy. There's no question about that.
What about this idea that he could be compelled to give testimony to Congress? Is there any precedent for that sort of thing?
No. And I don't know what testimony he would give, quite honestly, because I think it would be a bit of theatre. But I think they're going to do it, don't you? I mean, if we've just been listening, the Clintons are going. I think
I shouldn't think they'll send him over. I can see him doing some kind of video link
on Zoom, video link.
Wow, yeah.
But I mean, you see, a desert game will have the most appalling effect on the way the British regard their monarchy in general. Even though we know the King's done everything he can to strip this person of his titles, etc., 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 it all reflects back on the royal family in general.
For all the damage it does, how bad do things have to get before we don't have a monarchy? Because, I mean, you'd think we've got to get a good deal worse than this before people had actually finally had
Well,
enough.
I mean, yeah, if they were had out for murder or something at the time. But the point is, you're missing out one rather key ingredient. Who would want to be the monarch with all this going on? And, you know, there are quite strong signs that Prince William only half wants to be the monarch.
Yeah, sure.
And I mean, if I were Prince George, I'd be already saying, Dad, I do not want to do this job.
Do you think then, in 100 years' time, when we look back at the history of the monarchy in the 20th and 21st century, right now, this will be considered as significant as anything else?
I do, because I used to think the monarchy would go on forever somehow or another, and I no longer do.
Wow. Ian Wilson, thank you very much indeed. Great pleasure having you here, as always.
Great to see you.
Well then. Well.
I used to think the monarchy would go on forever somehow or another, and I no longer do. The Victorian.
This is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. The time when we used to make excuses for the monarchy is over. It's over. You made a very good point. Charles is getting heckled everywhere he goes. Billy Idol had to release a stupid statement today. I don't know why he dragged Kate into it. But I find that, I don't know, again, you know, when I tell you that these people don't listen, they probably told him that if he released a statement with Kate, it would be received better. What? Let's see. And let me show you something, guys. This is very interesting. Check this out.
Have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you been protecting Andrew from prosecution?
For those of you who missed me at the beginning, I said it, didn't I? When things like this happen, they quickly find places. I said, look where they took the king to. Clitheroe, England. I have never in my life heard. Let me go and check where this is. I didn't know this was a place. Clitheroe. Where the hell is Clitheroe? They always find obscure hellholes. I'm sure if I check, they voted for reform. They'll find him somewhere in the middle of the ether to throw him to. Anywhere that is isolated or far away from it all. Because they are looking for people who will be excited to see the king and not embarrass him, so that he can have his photo up, so that the royalists can use it to push the agenda that the British monarchy is still something people are interested in. Let me check where Clitheroe. I don't know where this. Okay, wait. Clitheroe. Let's check. God, the internet is slow. I don't think it's internet. I think, okay. I'm trying to see where on the map this is. I have never in my life heard of. I presume this is the place. Let's see where map takes us to. So I'm using a reference point of Croydon. Because Croydon is a random place in London, and I don't want you guys to know where I live. So, oh my God, this is going to take forever. Let me just check the internet. It's loading very, very slowly, guys. Lancashire. Oh, we finally got there. This is where it is, guys. Let me zoom out so you can see where in the ether. I said I was using Croydon as a reference point. So you can see where exactly this is. Okay, so it's from, okay, it's BB. I don't even know. I didn't even know there was a postcode called BB. Let me do something better than this. Let me say Clitheroe to Brighton so that you can get a sense of where in the world we are in the UK. So you can see. You see? Do you see where this is? Didn't I just say that they will find some hellhole in the middle of UK somewhere and take the king there so that they can pretend, oh, so it's near Blackpool. They had to travel. The king, he lives around south. Travel, took this man all the way up north, right to some village in the middle of nowhere. See? You can see you can see the distance. Let me check. On bicycle, 27 hours. Let's say on car. Why is he using bicycle? Okay, it's a 8 hour public transport because UK transport is trash. 5 hour car drive. Drove him 5 hours out of London, where he normally. I'm using Brighton as a reference, right? But let me say he lives around Norfolk. So let's say from here, drove him right to the middle of UK. See, I'm not see. I'm not making it up. See, oh sorry, I zoomed out too much. See, this is the United Kingdom. Oh my God, sorry guys. Imagine he was in Brighton. They had to drive him to Blackpool to find a crowd, most likely excited. If I check, I'm very sure these people voted for reform because that's what they do. And I'm doing this so that you people who sometimes some of us will see what we call the emotional support polls. This is what we mean. They go to obscure places that are away from city, that are right in the middle of nowhere, because places like that tend to love the monarchy. They tend to be right wing. They tend to be, save our English pride. That's why these shameless people, even though this guy he's not asking a difficult question. How long did you know about Andrew? See how they're all shouting at him. You know, the true serfs, as they call them, the losers. I call them losers because this man harbored a pervert and you're throwing a tantrum because people are asking him to face accountability. And all these things, all these optics, they are intentional. Is to send a message that don't think the king doesn't have support. He has support. ABC News is reporting this. How many times does ABC News report the king getting heckled? Because this is how serious the story is now. This is not a joke. Because even the international press can smell it. They were screaming that when Harry and Meghan made the decision for their safety and for their family's mental health to step down, it will destroy the monarchy. Really? You relentlessly harassed and bullied two people to the point where one of them wanted to kill herself. They thought, okay, not to be disrespectful, let's take a step back. You guys want it so badly, you have it. And that in your mind, don't forget that the language has changed. They used to say things like Harry and Meghan have destroyed the monarchy because they didn't want to stay and be insulted and harassed and bullied and terrorized. Now you have the king traveling all the way to some bumfuck in the middle of nowhere because he's desperate to show the world that someone likes him. See, I'm glad the ABC reported this. Make it global. Even the sun, even the sun, the mouthpiece of the royal family, because there is a shift in the air. I said it that when they stripped Andrew of his title, this was going to piss people off. See.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and
See? Because I would have expected the son to frame it like King Charles gets heckled, but fine. You know, they're always there to big up the royal family. But look at the title, King Charles heckled again by a member of the public asking how long. Have you, even they know that how are you going to spin this? Okay, fine, the crowd was charging you, but where? Clitheroe. The fact that the son did not even try to spin this in the king's favor should tell you that they are seeing the writing on the wall. This is bad. This is what, honestly, I personally believe that this is as bad. This is worse than Diana, my opinion. This is worse because the goodwill people had for Elizabeth, even when they had Elizabeth, because of that Diana thing, it was so bad they were worried. I think this is worse. They don't have the queen that people feel this maternal, I don't know, obligation to. A lot of people don't like Charles. More news. Let me see. Oh yes. Oh, see. I don't want us guys. Look. I know we've said it before. Look at Andrew. Look at the size of the frame he is leaning over and tell me this is not a child. Look at me in the eye and tell me that is not a young child. When the king was heckled last, the British press was saying he's a member of the Republican Party. Now, it's not a Republican, it's just a person. Well, how long have you known? Sorry, guys, I thought I would see that picture again. Let me not waste time on this. I'll bring it back to X so we can see. See. That is the frame of a child. And yes, a teenager under the under the legal age of consent is a child. Let me show you another angle of him getting echoed because it's funny. And he deserves it.
Sounds thereof. It was difficult to pick up, but it sounded as though the heckler shouted, "How long have you known about Andrew and Epstein?" The rest of the crowd booed after the question was asked. Our North of England correspondent Charlotte Leaning was in Clitheroe as the King arrived.
Well, the King arrived here in Clitheroe, and it wasn't long before his royal engagement, where hundreds of people were lined up to see him,
Okay,
was
calm
marred
down.
by a heckler. Now, the first you
Hundreds.
got a sense
How
of
many
this
people are in
was the
Clitheroe?
crowd booing. The heckler had actually said to King Charles, "How long have you known about Andrew?" So the crowd quickly booed. The majority, I'd say, of the people who were waiting patiently all morning to see the King joined in with those boos. And then the security then took that person to the side, and then the crowd cheered. Now, King Charles did not respond to that question at all. He just carried on his business, shaking hands, talking to some of the local people here, receiving gifts and flowers. But as you may remember, he was heckled also last week in Essex. So these royal visits, these royal engagements now being really hampered by questions about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. There will be some of those who will be thinking that Buckingham Palace, the royals, need to say more, that the King needs to make more of this. He did, of course, release a statement last year where he really did add his thoughts and his sympathies with the victims of Epstein. But I think there are those, this is the sense we're getting when we're out and about at these royal engagements now, that there are people in the public who want him to say more. Anyway, as we said, he ignored that person who had heckled, continued down the line of crowds who were waiting for him, and the majority of people very excited to see the King here in the Ribble Valley. It's a place he's extremely fond of. He's been here many times over the years, and then he got into his car and will continue that visit. But you've got to be thinking what the King is then, you know, going through his mind when he gets in the car, because these visits now, he's going to be well prepared, isn't he, for people heckling and saying what they think as they urge him possibly to say more publicly about Andrew and what's happening with Epstein.
And don't forget, this is Sky News, so of course they're going to spin it that way. The King should be ashamed of himself. All of them should. Acting like it's some sort of a thing. Oh wow, yes, he got rightly heckled, but the crowd was cheering. I thought this was a very good comment, so I'm going to talk about it. From a royal priesthood on Twitter. The royal family undermined its own status, yes, by giving the media and trolls permission to relentlessly, yes, go after a beloved family member over mundane issues. Now they face the consequences of that same machine turning on them with even greater venom. The royal mystique is gone. Boom. How many times have we discussed this, guys? They keep on saying that the royal mystique, this A.N. Wilson guy was saying, with him philandering with the divorce and with Andrew, that was not what killed the royal mystique. The royal mystique was the harassment of Meghan and Harry. Because at that point, you opened the floodgates. So what you did, and this is the thing that people don't understand. If you relentlessly go after people like that, you will it's human nature. Inadvertently, you will get the opposite side of people who have empathy. You attack Harry and Meghan every day. You don't see her, you attack her. You see her, you attack her. People are human. They even if they don't know her, because many of us that support Meghan, I may never even meet this woman. But I'm touched by it. Because what exactly did she do? Even if she gave the finger to the queen, does it justify harassing her every day? Lying on her, spreading lies and misinformation? The same thing for Harry, putting their lives in danger, putting their kids in danger, trying to sabotage their livelihood, making it so that they have to pay so much money for security, scaring them to death, infiltrating their family so much that her father is in a hospital and there you are. Like a like a demon from hell. You created this ecosystem. You allowed it to thrive. Now the ecosystem is hitting you and you're upset. Buckle up. And shout out to Graham Smith, who Look, he's a Republican and he's not having it. And to me, this is his moment. Graham Smith, the unannounced, oops, the unannounced visit that was announced last week. And what a surprise. People who turn out to see him are happy to see him. Shocker. Yeah, he's right. I told you guys, they specifically look for places, get people, they want the royalists to come out and pretend to be excited so that they can do so that they can do their emotional support pool. The police is assessing claims. The same police that said that they didn't have anything to investigate Andrew for is who we are supposed to be believing as. Can you believe? And I don't think people are realizing that the way they are handling this thing, yeah, is completely undermining all our institutions. I'm serious. You're making the police look stupid. They are looking stupid right now. Because people will be like, oh, I didn't realize that the police could pick and drop what crime that they wanted to investigate by the nature of who did the crime. Undermining the political system, undermining the police, everything.
In his first visit to Saudi Arabia, and while there, a Kensington Palace spokesman.
And
Good morning. We've got some breaking news to bring you now because William and Kate have broken their silence on the ongoing revelations in the Jeffrey Epstein files.
The Prince of Wales is about to begin his first visit to Saudi Arabia, and while there, a Kensington Palace spokesperson has just said the following. I can confirm the Prince and Princess have been deeply concerned by the continuing revelations. Their thoughts remained focused on the victims.
Well, we can bring in our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills, who's in Riyadh for us, so travelling there, of course, with Prince William. Rhiannon, what do you make of the statement?
So look, you should not underestimate just how big this is. This makes William and Kate the most senior royals so far to comment since the latest release of those Epstein files. And yes, while the words may not be the sentiments that some people want them to make, the fact that they are saying they are deeply concerned about the latest revelations, the fact that those revelations, many of them relate to Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, William's uncle, but also the fact that he has also so far not commented. The fact that they realised that they, I think, had to say something. This, of course, has come from a palace spokesperson, but again, in many ways, they are repeating a line that we've already heard from the royal family, which is that we must think of the victims. This also is the first time we've heard anything publicly from William and Kate about Epstein, full stop. So that's why it is a big moment. And the fact that the palace have decided to put this statement out there before William has even landed here in Saudi, I think shows that they really knew they needed to get this out there, that people were going to keep talking about it. They had to get it out there if they were having any fighting chance of being able to focus on what's a really important diplomatic trip for him. But yeah,
that was the initial statement they put out, guys. And I know I didn't play it in order, but imagine you are asking for justice. Imagine you are Rokana in America, not understanding why a clearly guilty man cannot give a testimony on Congress, and this is the statement that you hear. That, oh, William and Kate are deeply concerned. Who the F do you think you're talking to? And let's be very clear, that statement had nothing to do with the victims. They're always bringing up the victims as if we're stupid. It had everything to do with William going on his Saudi Arabia trip without Kate. So I don't even know why Kate was brought into this statement. what I think is going to end up happening, and I would be surprised if this is not the case, is Kate is not going to do anything while she, or maybe Kate has some solo appearances planned. We all saw Megan over the weekend, and we know how this family behaves. Whenever Megan steps out, all of a sudden Kate has something going on. So maybe I think maybe while William is in Saudi Arabia, Kate might have her own solo affairs, and they don't want, and they decide to kill two birds with one stone. But imagine you are people seeking answers.
Let's speak now to our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills, who is in Riyadh on that visit with Prince William. And well, we had that statement from William this morning, and now a statement from Buckingham Palace, which says that they stand ready to, if approached by Thames Valley Police, to support them. And also making this point that while the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address.
This is huge, and I have to say it does feel seismic. In the last 6 months or so, we have, of course, got used to statements being released by the palace and being more upfront, if you like, when it comes to Andrew and how he's been embroiled in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. We had two last year, the second of which the king completely stripped his brother of his titles and of his home. But the fact that you now have the royal family specifically saying, when they come to addressing the issues that Thames Valley Police are looking at the moment, the palace saying we stand ready to support them as you'd expect, is just quite an extraordinary statement. The fact that it's also come as Prince William embarks on a hugely important trip on behalf of the UK government, trying to cement relationships here in Saudi, that in itself says so much about this statement. When royals are on tour, nothing is done to distract from the important business they're doing on behalf of the UK government. And the fact that Buckingham Palace have now felt the need to put out another statement regarding Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, responding for the first time to the latest release of the Epstein files, is absolutely extraordinary. In some ways, not entirely surprising, though, when it comes to that ongoing distraction that this has continued to be for members of the royal family. The king, again today, out and about, trying to draw attention onto the community of Lancashire, the work that's going on there. And instead, that was again completely overshadowed by the fact that he was shouted at from the crowd. What did you know about Andrew and Epstein? It happened last week when I was on another visit with the king when he was in Essex. This has all become too much of a distraction. They were hoping that by stripping him of his titles, by moving him out of that home on the Windsor estate, it would be enough to move away from it. This statement shows that it simply is not the case, that they can ignore it. And this, to me, does feel like a new chapter when it comes to communication from the royal family. In the past, I think they would have tried to ignore this, but the amount of detail and information that has been exposed in these recent Epstein files means they simply cannot ignore it. And that is why you had a statement both from the Prince and Princess of Wales this morning, and now this amazing, extraordinary statement that's coming from Buckingham Palace, saying that while the specific claims in question are for Mr. Mountbatten Windsor to address, if we're approached by Thames Valley Police, we stand ready to support them as you'd expect.
I want you to listen to that entire statement. Did you guys catch that? Feel free to rewind. The audacity. First of all, they have turned what should be a somber moment of reflection into a PR war between Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace. Did you catch what she said when she said when royal tours are taking place, there's usually not supposed to be any distraction? Right? And I'm sure the king knows because they make up these rules apparently. But the king, in my opinion, which is probably his revenge for Kensington Palace putting out their own statement first, decided while as soon as William landed in Riyadh, I don't even think I think they're still taking pictures, Seth. Or they were still taking pictures, Seth. He released that statement saying that they will cooperate with the police, knowing fully well that was going to seize the headlines. So that's PR war. Kensington and Buckingham Palace are using victims of of sexual abuse and trafficking to play. Another example of how they are not taking any of this seriously. And have you noticed what the messaging there? They said that they basically said this is an Andrew problem, it's not our problem. Because, you know, guys, we can't read. We can't read. We didn't read that Charles gave permission for Epstein to land his private jet, a helicopter, on a military base. We didn't read that Prince Edward attended Epstein Island. We didn't read that a journalist 10 or so in 2010 2011 went to one of Epstein's islands to ask about Ghislaine Maxwell and Prince William. We didn't read that Epstein gave one of Prince William's affiliated charities a lot of money, so much so that they actually sent him a note thanking him for the contribution. We didn't read that the Queen said, well, I'm paraphrasing here, that, well, while she wasn't necessarily happy with the association with Epstein, basically. We've forgotten that the Queen dropped 12M at least to shut Virginia Giuffre. But it's an Andrew problem, guys. I'm not involved. But Andrew was trading trade secrets. What do you mean you're not involved? Charles, you're saying that you didn't know your brother was trading trade secrets. They didn't brief you. Because that's treason. That's a crime. I'm very sure you were told, Charles. That's what I'm saying. They are capitalizing. They are still doing the same thing that got them in this mess in the first place. They are playing on our intelligence, guys. It's an Andrew problem. They are so silly. They think by stripping a blood prince of his title, we are so easily appeased. Because, you know, stripping somebody of their title, sending them from their 50-bedroom mansion to a 10-bedroom mansion, and protecting them so that they don't face any legal consequence for their crimes is an adequate. Shout out to Graham Smith. They are clearly increasingly rattled. Very glad I reported Andrew to the police this morning. Graham has been reporting this guy to the police almost every day since last week. I believe Charles and William have their own questions to answer. Thank you. About what they knew and when about Andrew and why they protected him for so long. But threw Harry and Meghan under the bus. You know, oh God, this karma is delicious. I have to say, guys, I knew karma was coming, but even I didn't even know it was like this. I've always told you guys, right? Karma may not come when we want her to come, but she's never late. I'm so glad Charles is awake. Shay, he told everybody in December that his cancer has cleared. So he's fully healthy enough to be aware of everything going on. And I love this for him. It is the ultimate. I can feel Diana smirking from heaven. It's the ultimate revenge.
Caroline, in Lancashire, do you think the King should say sorry?
I don't know about sorry, but I think he's going to have to say something at some point. This goes a lot deeper than Andrew's association with those poor girls. I read an article over the weekend by the wonderful journalist and author Andrew Lowney, who's written a lot about
I've read his book,
Andrew and the royal family. And these connections with Russia that are now coming to the forefront are potentially a lot deeper. In the article, Andrew stated in the past few days he's seen a report from American security officials that suggest Russian-sponsored crime was used to target Andrew, specifically because he was a member of the royal family, which would then give them protection to conduct intelligence and corruption operations here in the UK, which there then puts our security at risk. And this is about monarchy in general. There's a lot more to be investigated about Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, his links to Yang Tengbo, the Chinese guy that was supposed to help him with pitch at Palace and is now banned from this country because he's suspected as being a Chinese spy. You know, articles about him taking £5 million in a suitcase from Kazakhstan, this new Russian connection. It's, you know, people are starting to say, is this why the royal family are saying nothing? Does Russia have compromising information about the royal family?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's always a question whether Epstein could, because Epstein's such a almost an industry, whether he might have been the front for Russia or China or something. We may not know. I saw at the weekend people starting to say he's actually alive and he's out of jail.
I've seen that as well.
You see how he quickly rushed out of the phone? You see how he quickly rushed out of the phone and he quickly went to use a conspiracy theory to try and, in my opinion, undermine the very good point that she was trying to make. Because I forgot about that Chinese businessman thing that came out recently. You see? See? The rot is deep, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear some more.
Expressing his sentiments about it as far as he can, but also saying that and Jenny, the statement the Buckingham Palace put out, the King, you know, expressing his sentiments about it as far as he can, but also saying that if the police were to come, and as far as we know, Thames Valley Police have not approached Buckingham Palace for any kind of questioning or cooperation as of yet, but essentially that statement saying that if they do, Buckingham Palace will, of course, cooperate. Almost an open invitation to the police. Look, if you have questions for us or the former Prince Andrew, come to us. Do you think that's the next step here?
Well, they're showing absolute transparency here. And they've already said that whether Andrew cooperates with the American authorities who are investigating Epstein was a matter between him and his conscience. I think they thought that was probably enough, but it's not enough. They do need to exert pressure. Perhaps they have already, but to show us, I think, that they've exerted pressure on Andrew. Personally, I think that they should complain to Andrew quite vehemently that he is and has been damaging the monarchy and explain to him in very clear terms that he really cannot expect to be kept, fed, watered, housed at his brother's expense for life unless he cooperates with the American authorities. It may well be that they've lent on him that hard already, but I think we perhaps all ought to know about it.
Again, these people think they're talking to stupid people. And this is the thing that will always irritate me about the monarchy, about the British press. They feel that we are stupid. And yes, I will admit there are some royalists that are not very bright, that believe that the sun shines out of the king's ass. Because you must be a very stupid person. Truly stupid person. As in, like, you must be stupid on a level that is, you have maybe deranger level stupid. But derangers, I don't think derangers are stupid. I believe that there's something hateful in them. That's different. You must be stupid. Like, your brain cells do not friction together. They are apart to believe that Andrew was able to get away with this without the royal family knowing. It's not possible. It's not. He was a trade envoy. What are you talking about? The king's son and brother, a trade envoy, and you didn't know his shenanigans. Saying that they must lean on him hard. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? They're protecting him for a reason, and I believe they're protecting him for a reason because going by what he did on BBC, Andrew is going to implicate people. I feel it in my bones. He will say some nonsense that will drag Charles into it, that will drag William into it, and they don't want that to happen. That's what this is about. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what this is about. Protection of secrets. Don't forget that if the Epstein files had not leaked, we wouldn't have known that Andrew was trading secrets. I didn't know. I didn't know that that's what he was doing. I had a feeling, but I didn't actually know that he was doing that. I was thinking it was just a sex thing. But apparently he was. But if they were that close, so close that you invite Epstein to your children's birthday parties, so close that Fergie took her children to meet that pervert when he left prison, and so close that Fergie could beg him for money. Of course, I mean, in hindsight, yeah, he did trade secrets. Of course he did. God knows what else. Yeah, that's where we are, guys. This is where we are. I'm so glad I did this live because it was just bubbling in my chest. And I was like, nah, screw equipment. We're going to have this live. I have to get it off my chest. Andrew cannot be allowed to get away with this. Mm-mm. Do I think this will bring, I said it before. I don't know if this will bring down the royal family, but I believe that, as they say, the guy was right when he said the sunlight has come in now. The mystery is gone. These people are corrupt. They're dangerous. And we need to reckon with that. And I think that as people who like, God knows I don't like the monarchy, but this is for the derangers and for the royalists. You need to realize that by coddling these people, this criminality is going to happen again. And next time it will be worse. Because when you give criminals the playbook on how to avoid accountability, you are just giving them audacity. Yeah. Notice how they won't do any more. I'd be surprised if they do any more emotional support polls. I think they'll wait for a few months. I'm curious to see how their royal tours continue to go. Well, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I thought I would talk quickly about Megan, but I think we've gone for almost 2 hours now. And I think I've already posted my video on it. I was thinking let's close on a high note. But I want us to sit down and think about what I've said. Think about what we discussed here today. Think about the victims. They had a Super Bowl ad. Let me use that in closing, actually. When I say this is not a game, for many of us, myself included, it is sweet revenge for what was done to Meghan and to Diana. But beyond that, this is just a simple case of very rich people who did terrible evil to exploited people simply because they could. And they did everything in their power to ensure that this thing never came out. That's why they put Trump in power. That's why Trump tried to kill the files. But it got to a point where Trump couldn't, even Trump couldn't stop it anymore. And don't forget, I'm so glad somebody put it here. Only 3 million files, 3 million files have been released. There are 3 million files that have not yet been released. And the DOJ said they're not going to release them. So, like I said, if it is this bad, then I don't know. My brain doesn't want to think about what else is so bad they don't want to release it. But it's something for us to ponder. When we give these celebrities or these rich people power, unchecked power, when we allow them to go into our social political landscape, when we allow Elon to buy X so that he can corrupt it and steal an election, when we allow powerful people to put their own friends in power to protect them from accountability, are we not also contributing? When we don't speak up and use our voice, are we not also guilty? I'm going to close with this video from the Epstein victims that was played on Super Bowl, because I want us to see the human effect of our silence, our complacency, and our distraction. Because I don't think we should allow ourselves to be distracted.